¡En marcha! ¡Avanzad! ¡Rápido!
July 17th, 1936, across the scorching landscapes of Spanish Morocco, a secret network of high-ranking military officers triggers a coordinated uprising against the democratically elected leftist government of the Spanish Second Republic. Led by generals like Francisco Franco, this military coup is designed to seize total control of the nation in a matter of days. However, the conspirators heavily miscalculate. In major urban centers like Madrid and Barcelona, ordinary citizens, trade unions, and loyalist security forces rise up, arms in hand, to fiercely defend their republic.
Because the coup fails to secure absolute power immediately, it plunges the nation into a bloody, terrifying deadlock. This is the birth of a brutal 3-year-long civil war that will completely tear Spain apart, pitting neighbor against neighbor, and serving as a catastrophic ideological prelude to the horrors of World War II. The peace of Europe is shattered, and a nation begins its long descent into total warfare.
To fully comprehend the sheer ferocity of this conflict, we must look past the battlefields and analyze the deep-seated, toxic ideological fault lines that had been fracturing Spanish society for decades. Spain was a country structurally divided by extreme wealth inequality, bitter disputes over the power of the Catholic Church, and conflicting visions of the future. This chapter explores how these explosive tensions, combining fascism, radical communism, anarchism, and traditional liberalism, were aggressively exploited to split the Spanish public into two fiercely hostile camps. On one side stood the Republicans, a complex coalition of socialists, communists, anarchists, and regional separatists, all bound by a fragile desire to protect the secular republic. On the opposing side stood the Nationalists, a highly disciplined conservative alliance of military elites, wealthy landowners, devout Catholics, and fascists, all united under the banner of preserving traditional order and national unity. There was no longer any room for compromise or a political center. The ideological landscape was entirely radicalized, turning political disagreements into an absolute battle for national survival. What began as a localized domestic conflict rapidly evolved into an international flashpoint, transforming the Spanish Civil War into a bloody proxy battle for the world's major totalitarian and democratic powers. While Western democracies like France and Great Britain chose a controversial policy of non-intervention, authoritarian regimes seized the opportunity to shape the European continent. We discuss the aggressive, direct involvement of Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, and the Soviet Union, which effectively turned Spanish soil into a testing ground for modern industrialized warfare. Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini sent massive military aid, elite fighter pilots, and heavy tanks to support Franco's nationalists, utilizing the conflict to refine the terrifying tactics of blitzkrieg and terror bombing, most infamously demonstrated in the destruction of Guernica. Conversely, Joseph Stalin sent weapons, advisors, and supplies to the Republicans, while thousands of idealistic volunteers from across the globe traveled to Spain to form the international brigades. The tragic conflict became a global ideological battleground, previewing the massive alignment of forces that would soon engulf the entire world in total war. The brutal war finally ended in April 1939 with a decisive nationalist victory, ushering in the long totalitarian dictatorship of General Francisco Franco. While the physical fighting had ceased, the deep trauma, scars, and societal divisions remained heavily embedded in Spanish life for decades to come. Hundreds of thousands of Spaniards had been killed, and a vast portion of the population was forced into bitter exile or subjected to severe political purges and executions under the new regime. We examine the profound, long-term impact of this victory on Spanish society and look ahead at the incredibly difficult path toward modern reconciliation and democracy following Franco's death in 1975. For years, the nation relied on a cultural pact of forgetting to transition peacefully into a constitutional monarchy without reigniting old hatreds. Yet today, the ghosts of 1936 continue to challenge modern Spain as a new generation seeks to uncover mass graves, honor the forgotten victims, and fully reconcile their painful history with their vibrant democratic present. The Spanish Civil War remains one of the most harrowing, ideologically charged chapters of the 20th century, a stark, cautionary tale of what happens when a society completely fractures along political fault lines. It showed the world that when democracy fails and extremism takes root, the consequences are measured in generations of trauma. As we reflect on this critical turning point in global history, how do you assess the influence of international intervention in internal conflicts? Does foreign aid support legitimate movements, or does it merely prolong the suffering of ordinary civilians and distort the natural political evolution of a sovereign nation?
From
Let us know
ancient
your
foundations
detailed
to a
thoughts,
vibrant
historical
modern
analyses,
future,
and perspectives
Spain
in the comments
continues
section
to
below.
evolve.
If you found this comprehensive breakdown of modern history valuable, please hit the like button, share this video with fellow history enthusiasts, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history. Be sure to click the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in our next exploration of the forces that shape our world.